How's it going, guys? Vaibhav here, and I just about finished watching the Xiaomi Mi 11 launch event. This thing was fully in Chinese, so understanding everything that was going on was a bit difficult given the language barrier, but now that I've had my time to understand what this event was all about, I thought I'd make a video going over my first impressions of the 2021 smartphone, because at the end of the day, this is the first ever smartphone shipping with the next generation of specifications. Before I get into that though, I just want to say a big apology to Xiaomi is overdue, because a few weeks ago when Xiaomi announced that the Mi 11 wasn't supposed to ship with a charger, I sort of went in on them on Twitter because they mocked Apple for doing the same thing, and now they're copying them. Well, it turns out the Mi 11 actually ships in two variants. One of them is with a charger, one of them is without a charger, and depending on which one you want. So if you've got a charger, you don't have to go for an additional charger, or if you don't have a charger, you can go with the charger and you don't have to pay a single extra dime on top of that. So the phone is priced at 3,399 Yuan, which translates to around $611 if I'm not mistaken. Given the current currency transactions, these could vary depending on when you're watching the video, but $611 brings you a lot of value for money for this smartphone. So with that being said, with the apology out of the way, let's get into what the Mi 11 is all about. Starting off with the display, you get a 6.81-inch panel. This is bigger than the Mi 10 and the Mi 10T, and you also get a 120Hz refresh rate, a Quad HD Plus resolution simultaneously, and a 480Hz touch sampling rate. All of that means great immersive performance when it comes to gaming. This is something that's going to be incredible combined with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 processor that's on board this device. More on the processor in just a bit. Let me also talk to you guys about the actual design of the phone. You get it in two variants. One is sort of a glass back, one is a ceramic slash plastic slash whatever you want to call it back, and the actual size and the actual weight of the phone varies just a bit depending on which one you pick up. So there's a few millimeters of a difference, a few grams of a difference depending on which variant you go for. Now the display is a curved panel, and this I know isn't suited for many out there. Many don't prefer a curved panel on a phone. I personally don't mind it, so I'm pretty happy with it, and apparently the display is one of the biggest selling points of the Mi 11. It's got an A+ rating from DisplayMate. It's got a lot of things to talk about. Apparently it's got a 1500 nit brightness and about a 1771 peak nit brightness. So pretty much if you want to use this phone outdoors, you're covered. And if you want to watch multimedia, if you want to game, as I said, if you want to watch your movie, shows, anything, this is not only going to be a big enough panel, but it's going to be one that's really immersive and you're really going to enjoy it. Plus, it comes with stereo speakers. It comes with Harman Kardon tuned stereo speakers, and this apparently will bring an extra level of immersiveness into the audio that you're listening to. So on the overall, when you're looking at the display rate, when you're looking at the refresh rate, all of that combined, I think the panel is going to be one of the best out there, at least for the start of this year. Combining with all of those top range and fast specifications of the display, we get fast storage, fast performance, fast everything pretty much. So you get 8 or 12 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, you get either 128 or 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 storage, and you get an enhanced version of Wi-Fi 6. Now Wi-Fi 6 basically means you're going to get faster speeds. According to Xiaomi, this is up to 3.5 Gbps, and you also get enhanced connectivity. So if you're farther away from the Wi-Fi spot, you're not going to get drastic drops in Wi-Fi performance. So I think this is going to be great for those people who are farther away from their Wi-Fi signal, maybe at home, or maybe they're obstructed by a few walls. I think this enhanced version of Wi-Fi 6 could be interesting. We don't know anything about how it's going to perform in the real world. That's, reserved to people who actually have the phone now, or once they get the phone, they can test it out. But I think overall, all of these things combine well with the next generation processor inside the phone, which is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 processor. This is going to bring absolutely phenomenal speeds according to Xiaomi on the Mi 11. We're talking Antutu scores of 700,000 and Geekbench single and multi-core scores pretty much never before seen. So all of this is exciting stuff for the phone when it comes out. I think the pre-order for the phone starts tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this video. But yeah, I think overall, when we're looking at display quality, when we're looking at performance, the Mi 11 is sort of the epitome or sort of the benchmark of what the 2021 ideal smartphone flagship should be like without the flagship price tag. Now, before we divert all the way to the camera specifications of this phone, I want to touch on battery life. I did touch on it at the start of the video, but I want to say it's got a 4600 milliamp hour cell, which according to Xiaomi charges from 0 to 100% in 46 minutes using its 55-watt charging speed. You also get 50-watt wireless charging, which is absolutely phenomenal, and 10-watt reverse wireless charging if you want to do that as well. Reverse wireless charging is actually a great, excellent piece of kit. I don't know, it's kind of underrated. People just ignore it, push it under the rug, but I think like if you want to charge, let's say, another phone on the go, which I personally do a lot, I feel like it comes in really handy for those few percentages. Aside from that, the wireless charging actually charges from 0 to 100% on the 4600 milliamp hour battery in just 53 minutes. So overall, if you're concerned about charging speeds, if you're concerned about wireless charging, it's got all of this covered as well. There's no mention of IP68 certification. So I think this is the sacrifice you have to make with the Mi 11. You don't get IP68 certification on the phone. But that aside, stereo speakers and wireless charging, both of these things I mentioned in the video I made yesterday talking about the Vivo X60 Pro, come on the Mi 11. So good job from Xiaomi on that front. IP68, maybe you'll have to live with that. But aside from that, this thing is truly the benchmark, as I said, to beat. And finally, the camera on the Mi 11. This is where things are a bit blurry. We don't exactly know which sensor the phone has. So it's got a 108 megapixel camera, a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. The macro camera, I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. I think, yes, it's gonna take some really good pictures when you give it enough light, but aside from that, it's just there to fill up that triple camera setup. The 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, it's got a 120-degree field of view. It's got a 5-element lens. So we're pretty excited to see how this thing performs. I don't think it's gonna get the best quality when it comes to the ultra wide angle setup, but we don't know how the processing on the Mi 11 is, so we'll have to reserve our judgment for that. And lastly, we've got a 108 megapixel primary sensor on the phone. This thing has optical image stabilization for your videos, a 7-element lens, but we don't know which sensor it is, whether or not it's the HM1 or the HM2. I feel like it's going to be the HM2 because the HM1 was already found on the Mi 10 series, so it makes sense for Xiaomi to go with the HM2, plus the HM1 had autofocus issues, so we sort of want to brush that aside and focus on the better sensor from Samsung, which is the HM2. And I'm having my fingers crossed here in making sure that the Mi 11 has the HM2 sensor, but I could be wrong on this. Aside from optical image stabilization when it comes to videography, apparently the videography on the phone is going to be really much improved when it comes to low light performance. We've also got 8K video at up to 30 FPS, we've got 24 FPS as well as 30 FPS. So that's something that's really exciting to look forward to, aside from, of course, 4K 30 and 4K 60. We don't know how optical image stabilization is going to perform on that, but we'll have to find out once we actually see samples of the Mi 11's camera in public. So that about wraps up my thoughts on the Xiaomi Mi 11. This phone is pretty much starting off 2021 with a bang. Best specifications, best display, etc, etc. I do have my reservations for the camera. I don't know how it's going to perform. Yes, it's got top tier specifications, but this is something that I'm waiting to get my hands on the phone to really test out and really give you guys my opinion on it. I feel like the battery life is going to do pretty well, 1 to 1.5 days of use without any problem. Plus, you get all that fast charging goodness, 55-watt charging, and it's included out of the box. So props to Xiaomi once again. I don't know about the pricing internationally. We only know about the pricing in China, which I said was 3,999 yuan. And you can convert that to $611 or 2,200-ish UAE dirhams if you're in this region. We don't know how the pricing is going to convert, but if it does convert that way, it's pretty much the best phone of 2021 for the price that you're getting. Of course, you're going to get better phones as the year moves on, but this, I said, is a great start to the smartphone lineup for 2021. So thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy, a like and a sub to the channel would be appreciated. Again, this was Vaibhav, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.